with my kids, I'm trying to teach them principles and values that I want them to have as adults. Part of that is your online presence. It's going to be out there forever. Like, we share everything on the internet. I wouldn't want to have anything out there that's just against who I am as a person and against my strong values and characteristics. And I just know that your words are very powerful. You can either speak life into someone or you can speak death into them. And saying mean things to people just because it's on the internet doesn't make it okay. If you can be a light in someone's life and be positive and encouraging, why wouldn't you be? And if you disagree with something, just carry on and keep scrolling. You don't need to be a troll and be mean. You can have your own opinion, and you are very much able to have that. It doesn't affect me, but I don't have to react to it. I'm not subscribing to that. You know what I mean?
Hey, my feel good friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and we have a wonderful guest on the podcast today that I cannot wait to share with you. Her name is Megan, and she is a social media manager. And we spent today's conversation talking about polarizing ideas and how you can be aware of the polarizing ideas that are on the platform now, plus how you can use your own polarizing ideas in a way that feels genuine and kind. We also talked about how entrepreneurship is similar to motherhood. Megan dishes up her thoughts on the new Threads app, Instagram's new Twitter, and even more. I truly loved our conversation, and I know you will too. So if you do, make sure that you leave us 5 stars or a kind review and connect with us on Instagram. I am at FeelGoodSocial. Send me a message. I would truly love to hear from you, and I will definitely give you a follow back and continue cheering you on over there. Okay, let's dive into this awesome conversation with this wonderful woman. Hey friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and I'm here to help you market your business in a genuine way that works without wasting your precious time. On this show, we chat about social media strategy and mindset tips with a focus on, you guessed it, feeling good. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some genuine conversation for the good of your biz. Today's episode is sponsored by our brand new podcast, Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs. If you love the Feel Good Social podcast, I know you are going to love this new show where we explore how we can leverage the power of AI technology without wasting our time or selling our souls. Together, we'll dive headfirst into the world of AI for solopreneurs and unlock the secrets to saving time, boosting productivity, and up-leveling your business with the help of AI, all while staying true to yourself and your brand. Are you ready to unlock the full potential of AI and revolutionize your business? Don't forget to subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode. Let's embrace making AI work for you. Hi, Megan. Thank you so much for coming on the Feel Good Social podcast, lady. I'm so excited to bring you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your podcast, and I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. Well, I did already introduce you a little bit in the intro, but I'd love to hear from you. Who are you? What do you do? And who do you serve?
Okay, so I'm Megan Phillips, and I am a social media manager and mom of 3. And I basically started my business a couple years ago, about 2.5 years ago, after being home as a stay-at-home mom with my kiddos and lost myself to motherhood. Needed to have something for myself, and instead of getting a hobby, I started a business and here we are. But I love what I do, and I work with online service providers, so I just help take away the stress of social media for them by offering content creation and full social media management services.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. And I just realized, side note, guys, we are connected through one of her clients, Erin from Luna May Strategies. And you've been doing a great job with her social media. I just realized what you were doing. I've actually noticed her social media being rad. So well done, lady.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And I love hearing the backstories of how people got into their business. I love hearing that you became a mom and you loved it. However, you felt a little bit lost and you needed something for yourself. And it's so cool that you felt like motivated to do a business. I totally feel that. I feel so empowered through my business. I feel like it's a creative outlet for myself. It feels so much more like personal and uplifting for me and like a part of my life versus just like doing work or working in the restaurant industry like I used to. But for you, what has the journey looked like since starting? I know that so many of us go through lots of ups and downs when it comes to learning how to be an entrepreneur.
Let's see. So I started this business in January 2021. And before that, for 2.5 years, I did network marketing, direct sales, or MLMs, whatever you want to call it. It goes by lots of names. And so I sold a product for a company and I was like a partner with that company. And so that was like my first dipping my toes into the entrepreneurial world. And that is where I learned I had to do a lot of DIY things to learn marketing and how to brand myself and not the business or the company that I was partnering with, and how to make graphics. And, so I got Canva crazy and went through all of those phases of learning all of that. And that's really where I fell in love with marketing. And so then when I realized that I wanted something of my own, I wanted to be able to choose my pricing and just have more freedom in what I was doing. That's when I was like, all right, I'm done with network marketing. I'm going to do my own thing. So I started my own LLC. And so I had that little stepping stone before I had my own business that kind of gave me a little bit of the confidence that I needed. So realizing that I could figure almost anything out that I needed to and pick up on things and learn as I go. And so I think that was really helpful for sure. But yeah, it's just been an ebb and flow of investing in something like a service from someone, whether that be like writing, branding, like something to level up my business, or doing a course or whatever, like feeling really confident and going at it. And then 6 months, a year later, feeling like, oh crap, we need to like make some changes again. And it's like a roller coaster. Like it feels great and everything's amazing. And then you take a turn and this doesn't really fit anymore. So I need to make some changes. And so I think it's just like a constant, I don't know how else to explain it besides it's just like a constant evolution of feeling good, figuring things out till you get in a good, confident place. And then something changes. It's a lot like parenting too. Honestly, I don't know if any listeners are parents, but as soon as you feel like you have the parenting thing figured out, something changes and you have to like go back to the drawing board, whether it's their sleep schedule and they go through a sleep regression, or with eating habits and rules and following rules, and then you having systems in place, but then they no longer care about that consequence. So you got to come up with a new plan. It's just always constantly evolving. And now I don't even remember what your original question was, but hopefully that answered it.
I love it. You more than answered it, okay, lady. And oh my gosh, I love that message. I think it's something I honestly needed to hear this morning myself. I'm currently in one of those, oh my God, anxiety at 10 a.m. and feeling good at 3 p.m. kind of business phases in my business. And I think it's so important to hear because there's so much to this. Not only do we all go through this in our business, but yes, like your business is going to ever evolve. I wish that we could just create the systems and let them go. I wish that we could just figure out our business and that's it. But you really do have to be light on your toes in business. And I think it's something that we don't talk about as much as we need to talk about it. And also, like, some of that comes into a lot of those messages that you hear in the online entrepreneur space where they're like, create the systems. Like, it turns into this shaming thing, right? Where you're like, I didn't get that right. I didn't do this right. Or like, I created the systems, but now it's like not working. And it turns into this shame that like some of us feel, or did I not do it right in the first place? Am I not cut out for this? But really, evolution is a part of business and you are doing it right. And so I think a lot of us need to hear that more often.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, you don't know what you like, what you don't like, what worked, what didn't, if you don't just do it. If you don't just take action, figure things out, and then tweak what needs to be tweaked.
Yeah, completely. And I feel that too. It's just taking the messy action, understanding and accepting that it's not necessarily going to be perfect. It's not going to be right, possibly in the future, but every action that you take in your business does help to build your skills, build your flexibility, build your problem solving that will make you a better entrepreneur down the road. So I love that. And one of the things that we had talked about before hopping on the call is polarizing opinions when it comes to your brand, when it comes to showing up on social media and all that different stuff. So what are some of these polarizing opinions that you feel very strongly about?
So I guess I'm almost like opposite of polarizing opinions, meaning I don't like that people are using polarizing opinions as a marketing strategy. They will just say whatever they want, regardless of like not thinking about the human behind the message or the brand. And it's just, it doesn't come across as kind. And so that drives me crazy. But there's also not a lot of transparency on when like things like that are shared. For example, like we were talking about an example before we got on here, and it's that like right now in the online space, the cool thing is to become a affiliate marketer or a digital marketer. And basically the message is that if you become an affiliate marketer, which this could be through any sort of big company, but like Amazon is a big, like having an Amazon storefront. It's like a big one of those affiliate marketer like companies. And so the message that people are sharing is that, oh, just do this and you'll instantly make 300 grand in a year. No big deal. And the message is shared as though it's very easy to do. And so I think like when we see all of this content that you can just do X, Y, and Z and make loads of money while you're laying on the beach sipping a Mai Tai and no like actual work had to be put into it, it creates like sets you up for failure almost, because when you actually decide, oh, I'm going to do this, and everyone on the internet says it's so easy, and you like hit a roadblock, or you have a client that doesn't have a good experience with you, you're going to end up quitting or just going back into your shell and just being like, it's going to be counterintuitive because you're not going to have, I'm not saying you can't have the success that some of those people have, and some of those people probably truly are making a lot of money. But I think for the vast majority, it just doesn't seem real. It's just like one of those things where you see the buzzword and you see the like quick polar sentence and you're like, it pulls you in. It's the hook, which we know works. But then I just feel like the message is just not realistic and it's not transparent at all. That was a rant. Does that make sense?
I'm so glad. I welcome your rant, lady, because because rants are things that we all need to hear. It's always something that we need to talk about. I totally feel that it's like the bro marketing, right? Mm-hmm. Like people just like showing up and saying whatever the heck they want, and there's no substance, or they're not sharing the backstory. My opinion is cool, do whatever you want to do, but I'm not going to take that in. And I feel upset for the baby entrepreneurs who are just starting out, who are like shiny faced and shiny eyed or whatever. And they're like, okay, we're going to do this. And they just believe everything. And because I was also there, right? Like I was that new entrepreneur who was like, wait, what, really? And like my first year of business was listening to all of those big name entrepreneurs online who are saying all of these things, making all these promises, and not really giving the context of how much work goes into it. With that affiliate marketing stuff, it's sure there are people really making a lot of money out there, and they have built up an audience that trusts them, that will actually buy from them. There's like all this other stuff. You can't just start an Instagram account tomorrow, start an Amazon storefront tomorrow and make $300,000 or whatever that like number is that people are throwing around. And I think that's one of those things that's like what sets you apart in your business, right? Is like the values, the substance, it's up to you to take those opinions that you see online and decide, what do I think about them and how do I want to show up in my business? What type of business do I want to create? Do I want to create the business that just makes $100,000 in 5 minutes, which isn't actually possible anyway? Or do I have a deeper purpose and reason behind what I'm doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And I love how you are like, when it comes to polarizing opinions, you're like, I'm actually the opposite against polarizing opinions, which I love because it's a polarizing opinion within itself.
I just think that I think that people share polarizing content, obviously, as the hook to pull people in. And we know that's a proven strategy and that works. But I think that along the lines, people have forgotten that you can have an opinion without being offensive. And that's what I don't like, is seeing all the polarizing opinions that are being shared to have a viral piece of content, but then it's lacking the humanness and it's mean. And it's just, I don't want to read any more about 100 things I'm doing wrong and why your content sucks and why you just need to do this. Can't we just come up with a hook that pulls people in that's also kind? I just don't, that's what I meant by that. I just feel like it's polarizing for the fact of, oh, I want this to go viral, and that's all that matters. And I try to approach marketing and content creation for myself and my clients with the mindset of, I don't want to ever do something that's inauthentic to their brand. And we're not going to share content that's mean to people because we want to connect with the human behind the brand. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. And I'm chuckling over here because as a Midwest girl myself, I feel your Ohio-ness coming out. We're like, let's not be mean, guys. And that's how I feel too. But for sure. And I think that this is a great lesson for anyone who's listening, who has heard people talking about polarizing opinions or is being bombarded by others' polarizing opinions online and stuff. And I do think that there's something to be said about having opinions that are different from other people in your industry. And I think that is such a great thing to really journal about and hone in on if you believe something differently than a lot of the other industry experts out there. Awesome. Share your opinion. That's one way that you can attract your right people and repel the wrong people, which is what those bro marketers are doing to us, right? We're like, yeah, we don't want meanness, okay? So they're repelling us, so it's working. But it's understanding those opinions that you have that differentiate you is great. And it's up to you to decide, how do I want to talk about this? How do I want to share this? And that's where the authenticity comes into it, right? Mm-hmm. Is, okay, for Feel Good Social, I know I am always going to be non-judgmental. I know I'm always going to be friendly and try to be like thoughtful and explain things in easy to understand ways. And also, I always am like going back and being like, okay, you can do this if you want to, if it worked for you. That's who Feel Good Social is. And that's how I share my opinions.
Yeah. And I love that message. And I have a very similar mindset around that too. And as a mom, I know I'm going to keep bringing that up because it's like part of who I am, obviously, but it's who I am all the time. I am not going to be mean and then try to be this other person like at home and like with my kids. And I'm trying to teach them principles and values that I want them to have as adults. Part of that is your online presence. Like, it's going to be out there forever. Like, we share everything on the internet. And I wouldn't want to have anything out there that's just against who I am as a person and against my strong values and characteristics. And I just know that your words, I'm getting on another tangent. I'm so sorry.
No, I love it.
Your words are very powerful. And you can either speak life into someone or you can speak death into them. And saying mean things to people just because it's on the internet doesn't make it okay. And I just feel like if you can be a light in someone's life and be positive and encouraging, why wouldn't you be? And if you disagree with something, just carry on and keep scrolling. You don't need to be a troll and be mean. You can have your own opinion and you are very much able to have that. It doesn't affect me, but I don't have to react to it. And I don't have to, like, from both sides. I just feel like the trolls and the people sending it, carry on, you do your own thing. I'm not subscribing to that. You know what I mean?
Yes. This is why I love these conversations, because it's like I'm going on a tangent, but no, this is what's coming up today. Coming. Oh, I love it. I'll keep the tangents coming up because, I love this example of how you can bring your own personal experiences, your own personal life, your own personal values into your brand. You can find parallels between them. You can make them meaningful on both sides of the equation. And that's truly how I think you create brands, how you create content that makes an impact, that attracts your people, that really is solid solid and sustainable long term. And so I love this, like not only what you're saying, but also the example you're providing of, I'm a badass mom of 3. These are my beliefs. This is how I want to show up for my children. And so this is how I show up in my business. Like this is like the values that I'm bringing into both sides of the equation. And I love when people can create analogies between what's important to them personally and what's important to them in their business, how they do their business, how they do their life. I love all these things that you're providing for us, girl. It's just making me geek out over here, if you can't tell. Okay, I'm shifting the conversation slightly toward more social media specifically. Okay. How I feel about social media is it is soul sucking for me a lot. And so I've had to set a lot of boundaries, make a lot of shifts of my own perspective, come up with some polarizing opinions for my own business when it comes to how to do social media itself. How has that looked like for you over the past few years with all the shifts and changes that we see happening on social media? How have you dealt with that in your own business as a social media manager?
That's a good question. So I feel like someone else asked me this recently and I can't remember who, but basically one of the best things you can do is putting boundaries in place for yourself. So I think that's great. If you feel like you're constantly like doom scrolling and comparing yourself to like all the other amazing entrepreneurs that are killing it online, you're like, why do I suck and why can't I do what they're doing? Obviously that's a sign that like, okay, we need to hide those people from our feed and I've had to do that recently. I've had some accounts that like were triggering some feelings that I'm like, I'm not feeling good enough. Like I'm feeling inadequate compared to this account. So I'm going to hide them from my feed. And it did help. Like a few months went by and it was like a mutual person that I know within my network of online business friends. And so someone brought up their account and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. I hid them. I don't see her post anymore. And it's been great. And so that really actually was really helpful. But as far as my business and what I do, a lot of what I do, I try to do 90% of what I do for my clients, I do on my computer and not from my phone. And that's been really helpful with creating those healthy boundaries because I can separate and compartmentalize like work at the computer. Phone is if I'm posting my own reels or something. But other than that, it's like scrolling for personal use or I'm like trying to find trending audios. Like it's minimal and I don't do engagement for any clients right now. So I'm not needing to be on my phone and engaging on their accounts. So that's a huge help. And just having that separation of like, yes, I'm doing a lot of things for Instagram, but I'm not logged into Instagram all the time. I'm not constantly just staring at Instagram. So that's what's been helpful to me is like doing as much as I can on the computer and not staring at my phone.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that actionable tip for literally separating your devices.
Yeah.
And it's so true. Like I feel more in business mode when I'm at my computer working versus like on my phone working. And yeah, that was something that was definitely a little bit difficult to navigate, especially when like reels started being involved. And back 5 years ago, when we started, it was like, okay, just create an entire month calendar of static posts. And it was great. And I could do that for my clients like in half a day. And I was just at my computer. I didn't have to worry about the distraction of the phone. And then reels started coming into the picture and I'm like, oh God, like how do I deal with this and stuff? And yeah, that's such a great thing. So do as much as you can on your computer and even make a plan for what you have to do on your phone, maybe, or set a time limit. So like I use ClickUp as my project management tool, and it's a little bit robust. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone just starting out in business, but it's just helpful to have your to-do list, your tasks, like everything organized. And so part of my monthly process with my clients is when I make their reels, I have that on my list as one of the tasks is to search for ideas. And so I'll spend 15 minutes scrolling to save some ideas that I like and save some audios. And then I'm pulling the links, putting them into a Google Doc. So like I'm done looking at my phone for that client and I'm typing it all out into a Google Doc. I'm sending it to them in Slack. They pick the ones they want to do. And then most of the reels I try to make in Canva on my computer if I can. Some of them I do have to make inside the Instagram app, but I try to do that on my computer depending on what the reel is. So yeah, like you said, even if I do have to look at my phone, it's a planned out
It's not necessarily time blocked, but it's a planned out task that my ClickUp account tells me, okay, do this today. So it's okay, cool. So I don't feel like I'm having this time suck of just scrolling with no agenda, because I have it on my list is exactly what I'm looking for. And I spend however much time just looking at a few ideas. And then I go back to my computer to type it all out and create the concept that I want to do for them and what I think we should do or whatever. And so it minimizes and makes it more effective, like the actual time I'm spending on my phone, because I already had a plan before I opened up the Instagram app. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes. What just came up for me too, as far as our Feel Good Social listers and stuff, is I am connecting so much with Megan right now, because like when we create content for our clients, doesn't it feel so much easier than creating content for yourself? Because it's like a little less like emotional maybe, or it's so much easier to like look at the outside, go like have a strategy for your clients, and then look at other people's content online and think, okay, I see how this can fit into my client's business, and make it very business strategic and not like personal, or not like you're in the middle of it and stuff. And so I've practiced with Feel Good Social. That's been really helpful for me. And it doesn't always happen, but it's, if I'm ever creating content for my business, I really do try to think about the strategy first and give myself like specific things to think about when I go into creating content for my business, and be like, okay, like how can I use this for this type of reel, for this type of topic for my business this week? And I give myself those ramifications, or I don't think that's the right word.
No, whatever it is. Works. I think that word works.
You guys, before we started recording, I was like laughing with Megan, because it's not even that early here, but I have not completely woken up because we have a skunk problem. I don't think I told you this.
No.
And so my dog, oh my God. My dog woke me up. My dog decided to go outside and bark at 3 a.m. last night. And I had to like go pull him away, because I do not want him to get skunked. So we're a little loopy today. But anyway, I think that, I think separating yourself from your business and really going into the content creation process with that strategy, with those guidelines is super, super helpful, especially when it comes to creating content for yourself. Because when you're in the middle of your business, it's like, holy cow, it's just like
so
a whirlwind.
Yeah. And I think people in other industries feel that same way. You know what I mean? Like brand designers even have other brand designers create their brands, because they're like, I just can't see it for myself. I need an outside perspective. And when you have someone else come into your business and ask you all the right questions, and who has a whole process, like it's just, you're like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? I love it. It's amazing. And it's so much easier to do something for someone else's business. I feel like, because you take all of there's no personal bias there. But yeah, it's definitely a thing for sure. I do feel like for me as a social media manager, I feel like there is more, I probably put this pressure on myself, but I put a lot of pressure on myself to be consistent on social media, because I'm like, if I'm asking people to pay me to do their social media, the first thing they're going to go is check out my social medias. I can't not be active on social media, because then it just looks like I can't do my job. So it's like, for me, it's basically like a portfolio. Like it's their first impression of me. And so I do put a lot of pressure on myself to be pretty consistent. And I'm not saying that there are times that I'm not, where I'm like definitely focusing on something else behind the scenes, or do let it slip a little bit. But for the most part, I try to like batch out at least like static content ahead of time, and try to do a few reels or video content every week too. And so I try to be on top of it, just because I feel like that is like what's that phrase about the cobblestones, kids don't have shoes or something?
The cobbler. Kids,
you know what I'm saying? Cobblers, kids don't have shoes, because it's like, that's the first thing. Oh, social media managers aren't active on social because they're so busy in client work. So I try to be like, I try to like keep that in mind and be like, okay, no, like it's important. It needs to be done, because it is the first impression. And I do want it to seem as though, okay, I can keep up with my own and my client's social, but not saying that it always has to be the priority, but some sort of like consistency.
Oh yeah, definitely. Ooh, okay. So this is the perfect segue, because I wanted to ask you just a little bit about your thoughts on good content strategies for people right now, right? So if someone is in the space where they are creating their own content and it's, oh gosh, where the hell do I start? Should I do reels? Should I do stories? Should I even do Instagram? Should I do threads instead now? Or like TikTok or all
threads.
Of that?
We could get into it.
Oh my God,
tangent.
Girl. Okay. But before that, we can totally get into threads tangent. But what are your tips for people who are like just
it's a good question.
For a good content strategy right now?
Okay, so I think a good content strategy is going to do a couple things. One, it's going to be aligned with the goals for your business. So that needs to be like number one. Don't just think, oh, this is my industry, so I need to Google like topic ideas for this industry. No, you as a business, what are the goals for your business? And start there. And then who's your ideal client? Who are you targeting? What do they do? If it's another business owner, if you're a B2B, what do they do? What are they struggling with? How can what you do help them? How does that solve problems for them? How does it relieve stress for them? How does it get them to take their business to the next level? Whatever it is. So that's the second thing to think, who you're targeting. That is like just as important as the goals for your business because it needs to be relevant to someone. And so it should be something that they want to hear. And if it's not, then it's going to be hard to grow a following. So I think those are like the foundations. And then from there, I would say as far as platforms, you need to think about where is that ideal person at? If, for example, if you're targeting 20-year-olds, you probably need to be on TikTok. If you're targeting a brick and mortar businesses that are more old school, you probably should make sure that you're on Facebook, Instagram, and maybe LinkedIn, depending on what your business product or service is, because we're just talking generically here. But so you just have to think about it from their perspective and do some market research and see where your ideal client is hanging out and see like what platforms they're on. And then once you have those three foundational things, to recap, business goals, ideal client, and platforms you want to be on, once you have that figured out, then it becomes a little bit easier to create content because you're creating it for. And so I would say, think about if you already have a business and you have a service or product, what are people asking about your service or product? What are some questions you can answer for them? And if you've had anyone ever ask a question on a sales call or in a DM on Instagram about what your product or service does or whatever, what's all included, like all these things, those are all content ideas. So anytime anyone asks you anything about your business, turn it into a piece of content because it's something that your person is curious about. So turn that into a piece of content. And I think all of those things are more important than the format. I think those are all more important than whether it's a static post or a reel or a story or whatever. I think once you get comfortable with the foundation of who you're trying to target and the type of content you want to share, then you get comfortable with all that. And then you add in doing other types of formats. Get really comfortable sharing static posts and then hop on stories and engage with your audience and really try to build rapport with them and relationships with them and all of that because you're already confident in the other thing. If you try to get confident doing all the things at the same time, you're just going to get overwhelmed and burnt out and you're not going to be consistent at anything. I don't know if that helps, but some of it has to be generic because I don't know who I'm talking to right now. And so I'm trying to give generic examples, but I think those are all good places to start. And also just share things you like talking about. I always try to say on especially stories on Instagram, pretend you're talking to a friend, share about what you're doing and just pretend like you're filling in your best friend about what's going on in your business and what's going on in your days. And I do sprinkle in a little bit more personal things on my stories than I do on my grid because people do want to see that. They want to see the human behind the brand. So I think stories are a great place to share whatever you're doing, like your morning routine. If you're a mom like me, like what you're doing with your kids on days you're not working and on days that you are working and all of those things, because it helps people relate to you and see that, oh, this is like a real person. And I love to see that she's like taking time off this summer with her kids and like spending more time with her kids, or that's important to me, or whatever it is. But yeah, I don't know why I mentioned stories. I can't remember where my train of thought was going.
Oh, you're good, girl. No, I loved all of those tips and stuff. And it's so funny you say I'm giving generic tips because for Feel Good Social, we do have such a wide audience of different people in different industries. But I think what really I think what really connects us is like our yearning for authenticity, our want to make an impact, our passion behind our business, our wanting to be able to balance business and still enjoy our lives and all that different stuff. And I truly do love talking about, you gave really great specific tips for different industries and the quote unquote generic strategy. But I think that really empowers us to step into that role of critical thinking in our business sometimes. And I think that's what a lot of those solopreneurs who are still wearing all the hats and doing all the things, like that's what allows you to thrive in your business. That's what allows you to grow and take that next step and get to that next level, is stepping into that role of the strategic brain power behind your business and being able to hear someone's advice and be like, okay, what does this look like for me? And how does this look for me? And one thing I always like to add too, just because I know that I know the power of hearing all of those polarizing opinions online and hearing all that different stuff, all of the shoulds and all the different things you have to do and stuff, is also always think about like the customer journey and like where you're meeting them at in the customer journey when you're showing up online. Because sometimes our Instagram is more like a portfolio, right? It's not necessarily like what you're going to see all those conversions, direct conversions and sales from. It might not even, for my wedding planner client, Instagram's usually not her first wave hello to people even. It's more so like people find her on Google and then head to Instagram to see if she's legit kind of thing. So always think about that too when it comes to your strategy, and realize that social media isn't always for making more sales. It's just a bigger, like a part of the bigger picture of that full customer journey.
For sure. Yeah, it's a piece of the pie. It's not everything, but it definitely is a piece of it, for sure.
An ingredient.
Yes.
I love it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Okay, lady. Okay. I'm going to probably stop this conversation soon, even though I know we could probably chat all day. But we did bring up threads. And you said we could go off on that tangent. So I'd love to just hear your opinion, just like face value opinion of what threads is all about.
This advice might be a little bit outdated because I haven't really logged into threads in like maybe a week or two. But so many, like one of my clients too, she was like, as soon as it came out, she like was very worried, and she was like, oh my gosh, what do I say on threads? What should my strategy be? And it's just so interesting because it is another platform. However, honestly, like from everything I've seen so far, it's not meant to be like a platform yet anyway to market your business. Like it's legitimately, or not hard sales anyway. Have fun with it. Whatever you're thinking, whatever you like want to share a message about, something you're passionate about, or like funny things. Like I'm seeing a lot of brands be really funny on threads, and I'm like really here for that. And I'm like, I'm just here for the one-liners and the puns and just the funny side of like people and their businesses. And so it shouldn't be, it doesn't have to be like, oh, it's another platform I have to come up with content for. It's not. It's like a fun way to interact with your followers on a human level without really selling to them. And that's what everyone I see is doing, is they're actually like very vocal about anybody who sells on here, I'm unfollowing you. This is not a place for that. Like people are been open about the fact that they don't like, or they like that they're not being sold to. Like they like that it's just a fun place to hang out and just have like silly conversations with people. So I would say if you're stressing out over it, 1, don't be on it. You don't have to be. 2, if you are on it, consume for a while and see what your followers are doing and read the room and figure out what you want to do based on what they're doing. You don't have to actively post just because you have an account. You can be a lurker for a while and feel it out and see if you like it and see if you want to stay. And if you don't, that's totally fine. Like I have not been super active. I think I've only posted like once or twice, but I just think it's a fun place to just be a break from the normal social media content that is being shared, which is very strategic. So that's my take on it. What are your thoughts?
I love your take. And also too, yeah, like I have not spent a lot of time on threads. My first thought is just, I think it's a place for you to really lean into your brand's personality more, exactly like you said. And And something that I like about Threads too, and I may be inaccurate with this, so let me know if I am or not, but it is one of those places that is very easy to reshare other people's thoughts and opinions and lift other people's up and also get involved in conversations. And if you comment on someone else's post, like that shows up in one of your followers' feeds. And then it's just like cultivating conversation, cultivating like community or anti-community, depending on if it takes the track of how Twitter has gone down in the past.
Right.
It's all about how you use it. And I think that's so cool because a lot of times I think that Instagram has become this place of it is a little bit difficult to get like good engagement. That's why I love stories so much because it's so much more accessible for actually having conversations and interacting with people. And I think that Threads, there's like a big opportunity for more of that, which I think is super cool.
I agree. I agree completely.
Oh, yay. Okay. That was a great job. Good job, like giving us Threads in 5 minutes.
You're so welcome.
But anyway, I have truly loved this conversation, Megan.
Same.
Can you please share how everyone can find you and get to know you more and all that jazz? Because I know they'll want to do that.
Yes. Thanks so much for having me. I've loved it. I can be found on my website. So my name is like the most generic name ever. So it's meganphillips.co because .com was taken because I have a very generic name. And it's Megan the OG way, MEGAN. No H's in here. I was in that generation where it was the most common name ever. So yeah, you can find me on my website and I have all of my socials linked there. So I would love to connect with you over on Instagram too, and you can find me there from my website.
Yay. Okay, and we will link both in the show notes, so that'll be easy for everyone to find.
Perfect.
But thank you once again, lady. I've loved this.
Thank you for having me. It was so great.
How great was Megan, you guys? It was so fun to chat with her. And we were laughing because I had like shown up to the call a little bit loopy for sure, because I was woken up at 3 a.m. due to skunks and Tarkin. But anyway, she was such a trooper and she had so much value to share. So if you did love this conversation, make sure that you do connect with both of us over on Instagram. I'm at Feel Good Social and I've linked Megan's Instagram in the show notes. We would love to hear from you, give you a follow, and send you some love back over there. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will catch you next time I catch you. Thanks so much for listening, my friend. For show notes and a whole lot of other awesome freebies, visit feelgoodsocial.com. Simply go to feelgoodsocial.com for all the goods.